This is the eBay On Location Roundup. It's about the eBay event in Atlanta on March 19th and 20th. My name is Cindy Shevely. I'm from the Web Seller Circle. Today I'm your chief webinator. In other words, I'm running the control panel here. With me today is Marlene Gavins. She's a social media strategist, eBay certified business consultant, and inbound marketing certified professional. Marlene, welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
Want to tell us just briefly about your business and how you can help our audience with their social media?
Probably. Okay. Well, with social media, I work with small to mid-sized businesses and develop a strategy and action plan for using the various internet and social media tools to get traffic to your website.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We also have on the line Melinda Jackson. She's from Gallerina Gifts. She's an eBay education specialist trained by eBay, president of the E-commerce Merchants Association of the Dallas-Fort Worth chapter, and host of the River, Ranch, and Bay podcast found on TalkShoe. Melinda, you're a busy person.
I know. I might get it all done if I didn't need to sleep. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah.
I was really excited to go to eBay Live, and I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, great. And finally, last but by no means least, we have Kat Simpson, CEO and founder of Kat's Closet, and an internet entrepreneur. And Kat has a really interesting new direction in her business. Kat, I thought it would be really cool if you would just give us a real rundown on your new direction in your eBay business.
Well, thank you, Cindy and Danny, for hosting this. Kat's Closet is all about women in the year 2010. We are selling products invented by women, and they're meant to be used by women. And we'll take men's money, too, you know. But and 10% of all of the sales, the gross amount of sales, 10% is going to a women's charity called the Women of My Hope, which helps fund female entrepreneurs in the country of Honduras.
Wow, I think that's really interesting direction, and I know you're going to be successful at that, Kat.
Thanks. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So that's our group today. Before we officially get started with our question and answer, I have some questions of our audience. So my first question for you all is, and this is my first time doing a poll, but I want to ask you, how many of you in the audience have attended an eBay Live? Okay, so my poll is open. It's interesting. We're very, very close. It's, well, now we've changed. It's 60% no and 40% yes have attended an eBay Live or an eBay radio party. So that's kind of interesting. I'm going to close that poll. Got a couple more questions for you. How many in the group here, in the attendance, actually went to the eBay On Location in Atlanta? So let me pull up my next poll for you. So it looks like the majority of people on the line did not make it to Atlanta. So we've got a lot we can share with you. That's great. So we're at about 96% no and 4% yes. And I'm going to ask one more question before we get started. Do you want to attend? Do you want to attend an eBay Live? Are you considering and going to an eBay Live event? Actually, I have to thank Marlene Gavins and Karen Locker for this slideshow we're going to look at as we're talking today. This is going to be mostly verbal, but I did want to give you all something to look at while we're talking. All right, so it looks like for our latest poll, are you interested in attending an eBay Live or On Location event? We're at 38% maybe, only 8% say no, and the rest say, 54% say yes, they're interested. So my first question for our panelists is, first off, why did you decide to go? And I'm just going to pick somebody at random. Melinda, would you like to let us know why you?
It was really important for me to go because I'd never been to an eBay Live. So I'd never been to the gargantuan 12,000 people event. And, you know, in the last couple of years, there wasn't an event. So for me, it was really important to go. I really wanted to, I think the networking was more important than anything. I think that with the changes that are coming out with eBay, the spring release, I think it's a game changer, and I really wanted to speak one-on-one with executive staff about those changes and you know, I really got a feeling of their optimism. But for me, I hadn't never been to a live, and I definitely was not going to miss the first one. I just had to go.
Yeah, that's a very good reason. And Kat?
I almost the same thing, man. I was there. There was never a question. You said, how did you decide to go? There was never a question in my mind that I was going. I had been to eBay Live in Chicago, man. I was ready for another eBay party. And then, of course, it was so close. It was a 3-hour drive for me. So it would have been a snub for me to not attend, and there was never a question. I was going.
Well, that's good. So then, Kat, you have been to an eBay Live. What was your impression of this smaller event compared to an eBay Live?
Well, it was a lot like an eBay Live shrunk. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, because the atmosphere with the upbeat, you know, presentations, and even the stage and all the booths of the different vendors and stuff, all of that had a very similar feel. But the difference was the size. I mean, at eBay Live, there was, you know, probably the same amount of employees at eBay Live in Chicago as there were at this one. I would guess pretty close, which meant that at eBay Live in Chicago, you'd see 1 or 2 eBay employees, but not a whole lot in one area. This place, there was an eBay employee per every 10 attendees. So it was amazing. You couldn't turn around without bumping into one.
Yeah, I think that was amazing, wasn't it? That there were the ratio eBay employees to attendees was fantastic. So you did actually get a chance to talk to somebody if you wanted to. Marlene, are you back?
I hope so.
All right, Marlene.
You are.
You are.
Okay.
So, Marlene, what was your impression of this event compared to going to an eBay Live? I know you've been to a couple, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I've been to Boston, I've been to Chicago, and I have to say that this was very upbeat, and the people who attended were really serious about learning. So, I thought that was really great. The Chicago eBay Live was very subdued, I think, and this was much more exuberant, more like the other eBay Lives that happened.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You know, people they were there to learn. It was less of a party, which we all love a good party, but it was a little less of a party than more of a, you know, I'm going to hunker down, I'm going to learn something while I'm here. And I think that's a good testament. Also,
I thought that was neat too, Cindy, because they actually separated the parties. You know, they actually had parties, but they were not actually formally part of the event. You know, there was a party. There was Dan Crawford, the Power Selling Mom, had a party, and John Lawson, Colder Ice, had a big party. So there were parties there, but the event itself was not, like you said, it was not really a party.
Right. So somebody tell Dana Power Selling Mom's story. I think this is really cool. Anybody want to jump in?
Well, she's the one who organized the meet and greet kickoff, and so she was organized in a separate area, kind of off of the lobby, in a raised separate area, and they had a big screen TV there. And what was really neat about it was, in the beginning, and I want to say it was around somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock, John Donahoe had stopped by and said hello to Dana, and then he was on his way to do a CNN interview. So later, by the time I came around to Dana's area and said hello, and he was being interviewed on the big screen TV, and he mentioned Dana Crawford, Power Selling Mom's meet and greet. And I mean, the whole crowd went wild. It was really neat. It was fun. I was really excited for Dana.
That was cool.
It was very cool. You know, being mentioned on CNN, she was pretty excited. And don't you all think that it was kind of eBay was really on I don't know how to say this, without saying they were on a charm offensive, but they were really out there in force and really helping and interfacing and talking to people. I was sitting watching, I think it was Griff was on the stage, and I was sitting on one of the steps because I had to run off somewhere and I didn't want to, get too comfortable. And Lori Norrington came and just sat down beside me. I was just, just as casual as could be. It was.
Was she cute or what? She was so cute the whole time. she was. I mean, she's cute. She's adorable.
Well, that's not something, when you think of Lori and her job as being this, big, impressive executive at eBay, cute is not really a word that comes to mind. But
she was adorable. She was corporately adorable.
Exactly,
Yes.
but when you see her in person, cute is the right word. She was just wonderful. And you're right, I love your term, Cindy, the charm offensive. It was like the whole point of it to me, people kept asking me, what did I feel like eBay was trying to accomplish? They were trying to connect with their sellers. It was very clear to me that that's what they were there for. And the fact that both John and Lori were there, and both of them, John and Lori, they were giving interviews to John Lofton with his camera right there. Griff gave an interview just off the cuff with Anna, with Parasailing Mom. I mean, they were just there to talk and interface and, I don't know, become part of the community again, it felt like.
Their accessibility was really, their accessibility was really incredible. And, normally Griff is the face of eBay, but this time I felt that, he's a soft, cuddly, approachable person from eBay that's usually at these events. But I really felt that, I'd never seen John Donahoe quite so animated and personable and just like a real person.
Absolutely dynamic.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you all, what was your favorite part of the program? Melinda, you want to start?
I think my favorite part of the program was probably the panel. And I have to tell you two things in the panel. It was Cindy Shepley. And what was the gentleman's name? The gentleman name in the middle? What was his name?
Jordan.
Jordan, yeah.
Jordan and Lynn Raleigh. And what was two things that really hit me that were really funny. Number one, I was surprised that Griff asked some of the questions he asked, because those are kind of his little get his feathers ruffled points. And I almost I thought Griff was going to fall off his chair when Lynn Raleigh spoke up and she said, well, my shipping's expensive and I make money on my shipping. And I just died laughing. I thought that was funny. But it goes to show that every seller's approach is different when it comes to shipping. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really nice that they were clear to give their honest opinion and that there were varying opinions based on different sellers' businesses. And I loved what you had to say, Cindy, about being multi-venue. And I thought for the first time that Griff and eBay staffers were more open to the fact that, yes, many eBay sellers were multi-venue, and that was okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was your interpretation, Cindy? You were up there.
Yeah, I just really quickly wanted to say that Griff coached us in being candid. He said, in fact, he said, I don't want to know your answers ahead of time. I want you to feel comfortable and candid and say it like it is. We're not going to censor you. So that was really great that they gave us such freedom.
Wow.
And really did tell us that we could be candid like that. He felt that was very important. So how about you, Kat? What was your favorite part?
I have to say the parties. I mean, I'll be honest, okay. The event was very on target. It was very much about learning, but most of the sessions, I would say, except for, I'd say half of the sessions, were very much geared to newer sellers. I would say under a year or so on eBay. So I felt like, I got something out of them, but they weren't really pointedly addressed to me. So the parties were where I met people that were able to help me with my business, and where I made some really interesting connections about fulfillment houses and other venues to sell on, and other sellers who sell similar products, and other people who are involved deeply with giving work. So it was really the networking and the parties where I made the connections I think are going to help my business over the next year.
Yeah, that's great. Now I think I heard you say something that you were talking to the Pro Store people. Is that right?
No, that wasn't me.
That was me.
Oh,
there you go.
That was Mel. Well, you know, when you posted this webinar initially on Facebook, you said it was all about the F's, the fun, the food, the fashion, and I thought to myself, and the freebies. And one of the cool things about Pro Stores was, and everybody loves the word, that's one of my favorite four-letter words, but Pro Stores is free till August. I thought that was really important to mention. They were one of the sponsors of the event. They were one of the sponsors of the after-hours party, the Aftermath. And I'm hoping they're going to sponsor us in Dallas too. But Pro Stores is free till August if you want to check it out. The person in location was Lynn Scherer. He was a riot. We had breakfast with him at 2 o'clock in the morning Saturday night. He is so funny. So definitely, I have to agree with Kat. Whatever. It's still Saturday night till I go to sleep.
Okay.
But like Kat said, you know, the parties were a blast too.
I did not know that about Pro Stores. I'm glad you pointed that out. Free till August. That's pretty
And
impressive.
speaking and more freebies, I want to mention that any education specialist is going to get their registration reimbursed to them, credited back on their credit card, as long as you email Sharon Gouldner at poweru.net.
Oh, for the eBay on
look into
location?
that. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Wow.
So education specialists will be reimbursed their registration. So that was a nice benefit from attending. And I hope if anyone's listening who might have something to do with the future eBay on locations, I would love to see an education specialist get together, maybe a dinner or a lunch or a special gathering or maybe even a breakout session for us.
Yeah, that would be my
Melinda,
favorite.
On the Education Specialist Discussion Board, there's a thread about that.
Breakout
Would
session?
love to see that happen.
No, about education specialists getting together.
Oh, great. Great.
I had heard they were thinking about having something at the San Jose event, that someone had promised a lunch or something at the San Jose event. But
Sharon said that if there were at least 30 people, she might be able to do something. Sharon Goldner, who's in charge of the program.
Okay, so any of our education specialists on the line, get into the board and tell Sharon that you definitely want to have some event, because I know Sharon will go above and beyond if she knows there's interest. So,
Absolutely.
Marlene, you want to chime in and tell us your favorite part?
I wish I could limit it to just one, but I had actually three. The John Jans, the Michael McCallowitz, and Griff's talk that was in the afternoon about the numbers.
Yeah, I did not get a chance to do the numbers talk. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. It was somewhat basic, but I have a retention problem when it comes to numbers. So it was a really great review. He handed out it was a handout of all sorts of terms that have to do with calculating profits and actually understanding numbers. So he started out by asking, whether you were occasional sellers or whether you were actually a business. And his mantra during the talk was, you can't manage what you don't measure. And everything focused on that. Some of the interesting things that that he kind of reminded us about was how your average sales price as listed is different than your average sales price as compared to items that have been sold. And he also, towards the end, was talking about who really sets the price and how you need to keep track of how often you should be keeping track of your competition and how to do that. So it was all really, really a great way to figure out whether you're actually doing well for people who may not consider how much time they spend in their selling, and accounting for their actual hours.
So you would recommend it if anybody goes to a future eBay Live to make sure they get to that breakout session?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the weaknesses of a lot of eBay sellers that I've spoken with, and I'm guilty of it too. It's just not really being on top of the numbers maybe as much as you need to know exactly how your business is doing and how to move it forward. Even if you know that stuff, the way he presented it was short and sweet and really a nice reminder.
Yes, well done. The whole focus of the eBay on location thing, if you look at the little tagline on all of their graphics, eBay on location, you're in business. And it seemed like that was what they were trying to get through, and Grit did a great job of that. You know, whether you're an occasional seller or whatever, you know, according to the IRS anyway, you are in business.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm going to keep Marlene on the line here for a second. I know that you were really impressed with the TP guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's too bad his last name is so hard to pronounce, and we end up defaulting to the toilet paper guy. It is what it is.
McAllowitz.
McAllowitz, yes. I've finally gotten it now. But,
well, it's his fault for choosing such a cute little name for his book, so, you know.
So he talked to people about marketing their business? Is that correct?
He talked a lot about customer service and how you keep your customers and make them feel special. So he talked a lot about, you know, the things that you can do to make them feel special and make them kind of be attached to you.
Mm-hmm.
So what were some of the highlights of his presentation?
Well, he was very animated, and he had a lot of props, and you know, I really, I feel like it'll fall flat if I try and you know, repeat it, but he's definitely worth seeing because he's very animated, very easy to listen to, and he makes some really great points.
Do you remember the name of his book?
His website
is The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
that's his website.
And that's the name of his book as well.
I think he's got another book called The Art of Getting Customers and Keeping Them. Or was that just the topic of title of his topic?
Yeah. Now, Kat, did you make it to the breakout session? I mean, to the talk. I just saw. Yeah, I just only managed to get it like 2 minutes of it, but he was really good.
Well, actually, what I like best about it, I'm sitting here looking at the handout that he gave us, Marlene, and I guess I was just convinced. You're right. The name of this book is The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. The title of his talk was The Art of Getting Customers and Keeping Them. And Marlene is right. He owned the stage. He's very easy to listen to. Not so hard on the eyes either. And he was a lot of fun.
All right. So, did any of you get invited to any of the coffee chats or you know, speaker lunches, or excuse me, the lunches or dinners with eBay execs?
I didn't.
I did not.
No. It was a random selection based on the placement of your registration. So basically they chose like one every 20 sellers, and you were randomly selected, and then you were given a ticket. And speaking of tickets, it's really important that if you want to attend any of these breakout sessions, whatever, and they may change the time, but in Atlanta it was 7:30 in the morning. You need to be sure and go pick up those tickets to the breakout sessions because there's limited seating, and in the event that they're full and you don't have a ticket, you will not be able to get in. So I want to stress that really clearly, and for anyone who might attend future sessions.
Yeah, that's a very good
point. Our way in, but we didn't have a ticket.
For all the rumors, there were people turned away from those breakout sessions, and there were people turned away from the event itself. So when they say it's limited, it is limited. It's a hard limit. Unless you're really good like Melinda and you can talk your way in, you're not getting in. So pay somebody, hire somebody, buy them breakfast, whatever, but somebody else can get your ticket for you. At least in Atlanta, that was allowed.
Good points, because I do know that they did turn away people at this event. People came expecting the day of that they could register, and they had filled up, and they said no. They kept it at 500, and they do have smaller conference rooms to keep this an intimate event. So if you want to make it to any of these breakout sessions, do be sure and get your tickets early. And they weren't kidding this time. They said 7:30. And we were all like, oh, no.
We were all looking around for the person in our room who would like to get up that early, because it wasn't us. Yeah.
It wasn't me.
About the private events, I did not get invited to any of the private dinners, lunches, or coffee chats, but I was interviewed while I was there by eBay's PR department. And what was interesting about that is when I came out of that interview, one of the eBay employees was there, and she said, would you mind giving me a few minutes to do a little video just to send back to the eBay employees? And I understand from the other people that were interviewed that she did this with all of the eBay, all the people that were interviewed by the PR. So these interviews that we did secondarily were sent back to the eBay employees. And I guess it was their way of bringing a little bit of eBay on location back to the employees that weren't there.
Yeah, absolutely. I did get, I feel really lucky because I did get to go to lunch with John Donahoe. There were
Awesome.
a number of us there, and it was a random selection. It was, we had a fellow that had just started selling on eBay, along with a couple of real, you know, titanium power sellers at the table. And John, he listened to us all. He let us all have our 5 minutes to talk about what we thought needed to be changed with eBay and what we liked and what we didn't like. And it was so fun to not only be able to talk to John like that and have him buy you lunch, but it was just so fun to be able to talk to him face to face and you know, air whatever it is that you wanted to say to the president of eBay. And it was as much fun to watch other people being able to do it. And I can tell you that the folks that went to the lunch, I ran into them a couple of times afterwards, and they were all just like walking on cloud nine. It is such a special thing. So it's another one of those things I say. It's like a eBay charm offensive, but it was wonderful, and it was nice to be able to talk to John one-on-one. And he had a flip video camera. I don't know if it was actually a flip, but he had one of those kind of handheld video cameras, and he was videoing us all as we were talking. You know, so he's got his little video camera in our face. So he was taking it back to eBay as well, so that you know they could hear what we had to say. So that was really fun.
Cool.
Yeah, when you think about it, there aren't that many companies where people get access to the CEO directly.
Right.
And so it's a real special thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, Marlene, a friend of mine, another eBay seller, Big Daddy's Money, has written a blog post asking John Donahoe to sign up for Undercover Boss. Yeah, she invited him to come to her house. But I think maybe these eBay on location events are eBay's attempt to kind of do some of that, to go under, not necessarily undercover, but to find out what the sellers are thinking. The new guy at your lunch, Cindy, was that the guy that's selling tires?
No, the guy
that gentleman who just started.
Yeah. He might have been selling tires, but the fellow that was at lunch that was selling tires that I remember, he actually was he has a tire company, and he's selling on eBay as a way to, you know, bring in more money or increase his bottom line. So
yeah, I thought I saw it on your pictures, and I've met him before. That was an interesting story to me.
Yeah, very interesting. Group of people at the lunch table, that's for sure. So, you know, we all got a chance to talk to an eBay employee, me included. So I just kind of wanted to go around the group and see if anybody had a specific question that they asked or got a chance to talk to an eBay employee and got an answer, or you know, what your experience was. So, Kat, you want to start?
I was at the aftermath party, and when John Donahoe arrived, and John Lawson brought him over and introduced him to a group of us, and he started telling stories about his recent trip to Russia. And that was just fascinating to me, because it wasn't anything about eBay that I got to ask him about, but it was an insight into the character of the man who's running eBay. And I really appreciated that. It was to hear about him he went to Russia on a State Department-sponsored trip to work on the issue of human trafficking. And that was really a cool insight into his character for me.
Yeah,
I was part of that discussion at John's thing. Kat, tell him who else went on that trip.
Oh, yeah, I'll never pronounce his name. Ashton Kutcher? The guy from the 70s show, okay?
Right.
Mr. Demi Moore.
Yeah, Mr. Demi Moore. There we go. Yeah, that was a whole other story. Thanks, Marlene. I'd forgotten that issue, but it was a real neat story, wasn't it, Marlene, to hear him talk about why they went and what they did.
And I think also Evan Williams, one of the Twitter founders, was there. correct?
Yeah, and Brad Forley or Brad Foley or somebody, and he must be a big dude because he donated a bunch of like 50 computers or something.
But I thought it was really interesting that I think that because Evan Williams was there was the reason that John Donahoe within the last week or two just started on Twitter.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. He told us that Richard, RBH, Richard Brewer Hay, the eBay Inc. official blogger, has been trying to get JD, John Donahoe, to get on Twitter for months. He's been working on it, and John has resisted. But one night in a pub in Russia, the founder of Twitter convinced him to sign up. And that's how we ended up with, by the way, if you want to follow John Donahoe on Twitter, his user ID is tallboy6.
Tallboy6?
Yeah.
Well, that fits him.
That certainly fits him.
I'm like a midget.
Story.
It is a great story. You know, it's funny. So John Donahoe must also be watching his Twitter stream, too, because he did catch the fact that RBH and us had breakfast at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we stuffed ourselves, and maybe that wasn't such a good idea. So we were one of his tweets. So he's watching his Twitter, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a very good thing.
He's learning.
Yeah. So Melinda, what was your experience with an eBay employee?
I have to say I had a neat conversation with Lori Norrington as I approached her, and she was out there just waiting to, I mean, she actually made herself so out there and available for anybody to talk to. And so we happened to be standing in the same place, and we were talking, and we both had our iPhones in our hand, and she's pulling up her eBay app, and she shows me that she sold a bunch of things, and I says, really? And I said, as busy as you are actively selling on the site. And she said, you betcha. She said, how can I possibly run a company on which I don't use the platform? So she was actively selling. I was really impressed with that. And she also mentioned that there were a few mobile apps coming out, and how excited they were that $600 million in mobile commerce came strictly from mobile apps, and that they had a new app coming out that featured especially collectibles and clothing, and that it really put collectibles and clothing in a special app that was more user-friendly and focused on more photos instead of text, and that it would be launched in the next week and a half or so, so for us to be looking out for that. So it's just a really interesting chat.
Sounds like it.
Is that an iPhone app? Is that an iPhone app? Because I think there was just one that came out a day or two ago.
Yeah. eBay seller thing. I just downloaded
an eBay seller app.
Yeah, eBay. Griff just announced it yesterday, and I downloaded it. It is cool, you guys. It'll show you all your items for sale, how many watchers you have on the item. Okay, I'm digressing to the point of the call. Sorry.
No, that's very interesting. I know that a lot of people, including me, are kind of thinking, is it time to join the new century and get an iPhone? So.
Well, I have to tell you, for anyone who's planning to go to a future event, you know, I've only had my iPhone for several months, and I had downloaded a bunch of apps that I would have probably utilized more at the conference, but I didn't have all my settings set up, and I hadn't experimented with them. So my advice to any future attendees of these events, or any, for instance, even e-commerce merchants events, to check out those apps, set up your settings, and experiment with them before you arrive at an event. Because you get there and you're so slammed with so much photo and information that you just find yourself not doing it at all because you don't have the time to set it up.
Good point. How about you, Marlene? Any interesting conversation or any problem solving with the eBay employees?
Well, you know, of course I participated in that conversation with Kat, which was pretty outstanding and made a big impression on me. The other thing that I found it was interesting to me personally because of my interest in social media was spending time with Richard Brewer Hay, the eBay's official blogger, because you know, I got to kind of talk to someone who really does it as a full-time career, just blogging, and he utilizes everything, you know, from video to you know,
Twitter,
photos to Twitter to, I mean, he's got the whole package. And he was also live blogging from the, you know, the day that we were there, which I thought was really incredible. Just, you know, watching someone do it nonstop in so many different fashions was really fascinating.
And live. and responding to Twitter. I mean, not only was he putting it out there, but he was engaged in conversation with people who were interested in what was going on and not at the event.
He's one of the few men that I know that can multitask as well as a woman.
Oh, Marlene, I love that.
Yeah, he was at all the. He was right in the middle of everything, wasn't he? He went to all the parties and
videoing,
and
vlogging. Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah,
he was awesome. Big thanks to him.
Yeah. Well, my story wasn't quite as interesting. I mean, I did get some time with John, but well, mine is a little bit embarrassing. Lori.
Oh, we like that.
Yeah, Lori Norrington and Griff. You know, I was sort of standing in the hallway in kind of lost mode, you know, kind of tired, and they both sort of, they came up to me at the same time, and they were standing there, and they got talking about conference rooms at eBay. Melinda, maybe you were there. They were talking about conference rooms at eBay and how the eBay employees get to name conference rooms after the execs.
Ooh,
And
cool.
and I was thinking, you know, Lori, she's a small gal, and so Griffin and Lori are standing there, and they say, so what, you know, and I was thinking more not like they were naming names, but assigning sizes of the conference rooms. I wasn't really quite thinking very well, and Lori says, so what do you think they called my conference room? And I said, the broom closet.
Oh.
I was close by for that. I remember that.
I was thinking small, not really.
What kind of reaction did you get?
She took it really well. She said, no, that's not it. And it's they named it Tinkerbell, I think is what it was.
Oh,
Tinkerbell! Then all the employees go out, they buy stuff to decorate the conference rooms. And apparently there was a bidding war for Tinkerbell stuff and driving the price up for her decorating her conference room.
Oh, that's funny.
They were all bidding against Janelle. You know that.
Yeah, I think
that. Yeah.
that's what I was thinking too. It must have been either bidding against Janelle or on some of Janelle's stuff, maybe.
That's true.
You know, I thought one of the
that's
neat
a good
things about
story,
the conference, lining up exactly with your story, Cindy. Remember when they were Lori was on the stage and John Donahue and Griff and they said, this is how when we talk to Lori, this is what we do. And Griff and John Donahue got on their knees, and Lori Norrington's in the middle between them, patting them on the heads. I mean, that was the funniest thing. I mean, I just fell out laughing. It was so adorable, and I thought it was just really.
I loved that.
I loved that, and the fact that they could. To just be themselves and have fun at the event, you know, and just be how they might be if they were, you know, on campus among themselves. I just really liked seeing them be themselves.
Right.
That was adorable. I think I got a pretty good picture of that. It was cute.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the after-hours events. There was John Colderice's party. There was Dana's party. I think there was a party on Saturday night as well that you all.
Hayes
Yeah.
one, yes.
Right. So coming out of those parties, anything that you haven't told us that any connections
Lots.
you made? Yeah.
Lots.
Yeah. Don't tell us the embarrassing stuff, but you know, any really good connections you want to or tips you got from them?
I made
They
some good
had-
connections. You know,
Go ahead, Marlene.
As far as you know, I feel like I made some really great connections. There was a woman that John had invited to the party, Toni Bloomberg. She's got the Divas blog, and she's a social media maven, I guess you could say. And so that was a real nice connection that I felt I made. I've had on my podcast Randy Smythe and been twittering with him for well over a year, and he flew in from California just for John's party. So it was really very nice to actually meet him and be able to talk with him in person beyond the 140 characters. So that was pretty good. And the other one, oh yeah, I met a woman who actually is a virtual assistant, but she's a blogger, and she does the blogging for Outright. And that was kind of interesting too, just listening to, figuring out how other people do their jobs.
I think her name was Jennifer.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
And the interesting thing is that, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Marlene.
This is sort of building on what Melinda had said a little bit earlier, just the technology between the last couple of eBay Lives and this particular On Location event, now we've come back and connected with all these people on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and you're Twittering with them, and so it's kind of, it's just interesting how the relationships build from that point. Some of these people I only knew from being online, and so we finally met in person. Some of these people I met in person, now we are together online, so it's kind of interesting how it all works.
I agree.
It's really fascinating, isn't it? How technology is really changing our lives.
I don't think any conference has been better, has been more shown online on all the social media. I think social media put this particular eBay Live On Location event on the map, whereas none of the others were in such a fashion.
Oh, absolutely, and all the tweet us and Facebook connections on all the signage at eBay at eBay On Location was really interesting too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people found John Jantz's information was somewhat for the people who already use a lot of these social sites are comfortable with them. I think John Jantz's talk was a little on the basic intro to side, but it was amazing how many eBay sellers who are online, obviously to sell, were not using social media or not quite as aware of some of these things. As a matter of fact, we ended up at a lunch. This was an event that was just totally spontaneous, but Melinda and Karen Locker and Marianne Loudon, the crazy redhead, and myself ended up having lunch with a girl who kind of picked us up as we were walking out of the convention area, and she was starting to sell on eBay, and we were having this conversation. She's like, "How did you all meet?" And we're talking about, well, we really haven't. I mean, for some of us, the first time we've ever met in person, and it's kind of interesting to put things in perspective for some of us who are online a lot.
She didn't know anything about podcasting or Twitter or Facebook. She asked Marlene what Wi-Fi was, to tell you what a darling, cute, unknowing soul she was. And we just,
That was the conversation stopper right there. I mean, when she said, what's Wi-Fi? I was like, I don't know how to answer that. I haven't had that question ever.
Yeah, but quite frankly, a lot of people, 3 years ago, people didn't know. There's a lot of people who didn't know what that was 3 years ago. Look how far we've come in the last couple of years.
Yes, it's true. It's accessible, and people are connecting and starting to embrace it. But it is just in a very, very short time. It's sort of amazing.
What's really fun to see was I guess maybe those of us on the call are all pretty familiar with things like the Google Wonder Wheel. But when John Jantz was showing that, to watch people's amazement, figuring out what it, I mean, I show that sometimes in my classes, and I see it, so I see it a lot, but, seeing a room full of, a few hundred people, jaw drop, was like really cool.
And Marlene,
okay, so,
remember you
so
and I,
Marlene,
and I
you
were
have to
sitting
explain that.
What's Google Wonder Wheel, Marlene?
Yeah, Marlene?
Oh, it's an alternate way to do, I mean, it's a very elementary way to start a keyword research. So if you go to Google and you type in a word and you do a regular search, just under that little bar at the top is something that says Show Options. And when you click on that, you'll be brought to another page where you can look on the column to the left and scroll down, and there's something that says Wonder Wheel. And when you click on that, the term that you search for will be in the center in a circle, and there will be spokes pointing out to it, which are related terms that people have been searching on Google for.
So it's another way to gather keywords for your titles and the like.
Absolutely, or if you're selling products, you find out related products, or if you're not sure whether things should be plural or hyphenated or whatever, it's kind of a quick way to just go in and do a real quick check about and see what people are looking for on Google.
Absolutely.
And John's talk was very interesting. Marlene and I were sitting together up front, and she talked about how some of it was very basic, because he had to start with the beginning. And he would say, he would introduce a tool, and Marlene and I would look together and go, Yeah, okay. Next. So it was interesting. It was still a great presentation, and I highly encourage people to attend it. However, that was fun. That was
I have to say,
And you know,
just
Go ahead.
quickly, you know how you always say, you think somebody's shorter than they actually are. I was kind of amazed how tall John Jantz is. He's another tall guy.
Yeah.
That has
Yeah,
nothing
he
to do
is.
with this, but
And so is Mike.
Yes, Mike too. I enjoyed how tall John was when I saw him next to our John Lawson.
All right.
It's hard to find somebody to make John Lawson look small, but John Donahoe can do it.
You
A
know,
lot
I'm
of
looking at the
Johns
Twitter
and Johns
stream
here.
now, and speaking of Twitter and social media affecting this event, eBay Andy says, at eBay Green and at eBay Inc. blog, maybe if I drink more beer here in Salt Lake City, they'll export me to the San Jose social media row. The details really left out.
Oh, he
funny.
really wanted to go. He had a campaign going on Twitter to get sent to Atlanta.
well,
He's still on the campaign, and his next campaign is San Jose, so hopefully we'll help him get there.
yeah. Well, I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, but I want to kind of ask you all one more question before we head out. And I'm going to start with you, Melinda. So get ready. What was the one thing that you feel you learned or saw that made the whole trip worth it?
The one thing, I would say the connecting with eBay staffers, and not just any staffers, but the executive staffers, the really in-depth conversations. I had a great conversation with Dinesh. I spoke about how when we combine invoices that we can only discount below what the shipping is, and now with free shipping, we can't put a number there, so we had a chat about that. He's taken that back with him to take to the boards. Just that they're open to your conversation. It's all about, see, for me, it was all about the networking because I knew eBay was coming to Dallas. So for me, I knew that I would get to see John Jantz later, so I was working the room.
Very good. Kat, what was?
And you know, and I was go ahead, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. If you finish up. I want to.
And I just wanted to say one thing real quickly about Richard Burhay. Thank you so much. The Brick Store Pub was awesome. Two of you mentioned the connections that I made. I met the most darling eBay employee named Libby Redder. She's in charge of the eBay Green team, and she's the one who over lunch wrote about the eBay Green team on the outside of a pizza box and made it happen. Absolutely a doll. I mean, she just makes you want to be a better person. She was adorable. And I met Amy of the eBay Giving Works. I met a nice company named Cabbage who's going to be loaning money to sellers to put in their business, to grow their business. Very interested about that. And, of course, Lynn Scher of Pro Stores. Yeah, so I met some neat company. Of course, Randy Smythe Friday night. He was awesome. He just came to see us and have a big time. But, yeah, I made some neat connections.
Oh, great. Kat, how about you? What was the one thing that you really learned from this conference that you made it all worth it?
Well, I have to copy Melinda again because the one thing that I brought home that will change my business in the next year is the connections, the people. I've met Randy Smythe before, and we talk often on Twitter, but made a connection with him this year and just made an off-the-cuff comment about how I was waiting till I was big enough to sell on buy.com and found out, oh, no, you need to sell there now. So that's going to be a huge new venue for me. I met a gentleman who is a huge successful seller on eBay for designer athletic, and he's now starting a new business. He's going to be a fulfillment center. So I'm familiar with Fulfillment by Amazon, FBA, but now I'm exploring Fulfillment by George, FBG.
Oh, very good.
Yes, and also the Cabbage people. I thought that was very interesting. They are going to be integrated with eBay, they hope, in the future, and actually be loaning sellers money based on their selling history and their feedback. So that's going to be a real interesting thing. And then I made another close connection with the Outright people and with Jennifer, their blogger. So it's the people, I guess, is the one thing I brought back.
Yeah, there's some real interesting things happening in the future with some of these support and applications coming on. How about you, Marlene? What's the one thing you?
The best takeaway was really, I hate to duplicate what everybody else has said, but it was the ability to have some one-on-one conversations with people that will be great resources for me in the future. that was one thing. And the other one was the fact that I was actually able to be exposed to people that were eBay sellers that were really sellers in volume. I work a lot with smaller eBay sellers and newbies, and it was really nice to actually now know some people that have scaled their business up so that they can be a resource, for me as I move forward in working with some people. And the third thing was just connecting with some of the people, like you, Cindy, and Dana, and some of the people that I have met in the past, but, it's always nice to just kind of touch bases again, besides online.
Yes. Isn't it funny that this smaller event made networking so much easier for us all? I feel like it was much more accessible and much more easy to meet people and do some networking to build business.
It was nice for me to get to meet Marlene and yourself, see you again. I'd seen you at the eBay radio party, and Lynn Drawley. I mean, it was a great time to come meet those that have been mentors to me. Y'all have been such a great example to me and somebody for me to line my business by and an education specialist to follow and to, y'all have been my heroes, so to get to meet all of you, I was just honored, really.
Yeah, it was.
I think the big thing about the oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was, definitely, it was a pleasure meeting all the people that, you've been on their podcasts and stuff. But one thing I just want to say is just going back to something I mentioned in the beginning. I think the fact that the people, everybody there was there to learn, and the eBay staff really encouraged the interaction. They said a number of times, talk to your fellow sellers because they're going to have as much information as we do. And I think it was really true.
Yeah, they did push that. That was neat if they did that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wonderful that they did remind us that we learn from each other, and I think that was the motivation behind having that panel, the top-rated seller panel, is that they recognize that the best teachers are people who are are doing it, so we can learn from each other, and that brings us back to all this social stuff too, Facebook and Twitter and podcasts and webinars, as we all learn from each other, not necessarily in a complete formal environment, but we do pick things up here and there.
Yep. I feel really on you, Cindy, for a second, just ask you what you came away with, or this last question you asked us, can you give us your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to absolutely mirror what you all said. It was the networking opportunity. It was wonderful to meet so many people and reconnect with you all. It does build the connection in a network, and I think that was the most awesome thing about the whole weekend. I just really enjoyed it. It was fun to talk to John, don't get me wrong, but I think the networking, having lunch with John was awesome, but I think the networking was the one takeaway that I really, really, really appreciate and got from the event. And, even if I wasn't going as a panelist, I would definitely want to go again because I think these are very, very powerful events.
Cool.
I have one person I'd really like to take just one moment and thank, and that is Karen Locker of Mommy's Bazaar on Twitter and on eBay. She did such an amazing job of bringing this event to all of our online group members and all of our fellow eBay sellers and Twitterers. She was awesome. She tweeted and photographed up a storm and got it out there to bring eBay on Location out to our social media connections. And Karen, she just did an awesome job. I've got to say a big thanks to her.
That was awesome getting to meet Karen. I've known her as Mommy's Bazaar for ages, and we've become friends, but to actually get to meet her, and as we Southern ladies say, hug her neck, that was a real treat.
It was.
Yeah.
So, Cindy, who did you meet that you've never met before, Cindy?
Who did I meet
Who
that
did
I
you
never...
meet, Cindy? Yeah.
I met Taffy. From Edelman. I met John Colder Ice and his mom. And I got to meet John Jantz and oh gosh, boy, so many people I can't even. I can't even say. I just, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit distracted here. I just see we've got some questions, but
Yeah, it's hard to pick out one person to say because you're afraid you'll forget 5 other people that you were just as excited to meet. I know how you feel.
right, and having Lori Norton to talk to her. I've never talked to her before, so that was really great too. So.
Yeah, by the way, Lori, you owe me a T-shirt just in case she listens to this later.
That's right. Well, I want
a pleasure to talk to.
Any last thoughts before I let you all head out and get back to your busy schedules?
I have a few tips for anyone who is going to attend future events, and that is get all your gadgets charged up, bring extra batteries, bring every gadget recording device you have, take hundreds of business cards because you'll use them, get your applications on your iPhone and smartphone all set up, get your settings set up, get familiar with using them before you come to the event. One thing I didn't know until late Saturday was that we were able to tap into eBay's Wi-Fi, and I assumed there would be a passcode needed to get signed on to the wireless network, and there wasn't. So know that at the eBay on locations, you can just tap into the eBay Wi-Fi without any charge and without any passcode. So that was important. And to bring some comfortable shoes, even if you just bring a different pair to change the pressures on your feet, bring a couple of different pairs of shoes and a couple of changes of clothes because it's a long ride.
That it is. Anybody else? Anybody want to tell me really quickly how people can find information about the eBay Live Dallas? Melinda?
Well, the eBabes and Emails have a fan page on Facebook, and of course ecommercemerchantsdallas.com is the meetup group for Dallas. We're still setting up some hubs where we can meet and all talk. But I would say Facebook and Twitter, follow hashtag eBayOL, and then if you want to further separate that, you can hashtag DAL for Dallas. Really looking forward to it. May 7th and 8th. Registration is open. Early registration is $35. You go to eBay. I have it pulled up here. I think it's ebayonlocation.com.
Okay.
eBay.com, eBay events or something?
I'll pull it up here in a second. And so yeah, it's $35 for early registration, and I think that's only through the end of the month. Dallas has a huge member base, so I would get signed up immediately. Even if you pass your ticket off to someone, even if you're unsure about going, I would definitely get signed up right now. Go to www.ebayonlocationevents.com, and that's where you can sign up.
Woohoo.
And education specialists get a refund of the registration. So you can email Sharon Gouldner at poweru.net. I think it's at support@poweru.net, and let her know you're an education specialist, you've registered, and you're attending. And I don't know if I've gotten my refund yet, but the way I understand it, you'll get a credit on your credit card.
Great. All right. Well, then, if you all, I really want to thank you for taking time out of your busy afternoons, and I know coming so close to the event that we've all are really busy, so I really appreciate you all taking an hour out of your busy week and telling us about your favorite highlights for the event. Marlene and Kat and Melinda, all. Big shout out to you, and we'll
thank you for having us.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
Yeah, and we'll say good night and goodbye for this podcast.